Hey, Joe from Missouri, you're talking to Matt and Johnny. You're on the air. You want to talk about a hidden test in the first 2 chapters of the Holy Bible? What you got?
Yeah. In the first 2 chapters, in fact, if you refer to the Skeptics Annotated Bible, they do point out contradictions in the Bible. And 5 of their first 10 contradictions are regarding 2 creation accounts that don't agree with each other. And I want to agree with Steve Wells on that point. He did point out 5 contradictions, but they actually get solved when you open the book properly and recognize that the second creation account is a genealogical record and must be kept in order. And from that point,
Joe?
Yes.
I just released a video about this the other day. Why are you calling me when I don't disagree with you?
I didn't know if you agreed or didn't agree, or I didn't know you released a video.
I've pointed out to atheists repeatedly when they say, oh, Genesis 1 and Genesis 2 are contradictory accounts. I've repeatedly pointed out on this show and in a video, which I just released like a month or so ago, to atheists, that's not true. They're not necessarily contradictory accounts. Now, Genesis 1 conflicts with the truth about what we know about the order of events in the universe, but Genesis 2 is unclear as to whether or not it's a secondary account, an addition account, a supplementary account, or, as you want to put it, a mystical sort of genealogy, even though I don't think that's necessarily right either. But at the end of the day, all I care about is it true? And I have no reason to think it's true.
So, do you believe it's an ancient writing?
Do I believe what's an ancient writing?
That's all you need. The Bible.
Well, how ancient?
Are they an ancient? Well, let's say the chapters involved, maybe one of them's 3,500 years old, the other 2,900.
I have no reason to think they're quite that old, but I'm happy with a couple thousand years. Sure,
why not?
Okay, so I have something completely different than whatever's on your video. What I'm saying is they actually, if you follow the rules of what's being talked about.
What rules?
To make it
what rules?
When it says that there wasn't any plants yet, and then it says, then the Lord made man.
What? That's not a rule. I'm asking you said if we follow the rules, what rules are we supposed to follow?
Okay, rules of logic. The rules within the story, when it's saying when something occurred, it actually means when it occurred. Now, I'm just saying this is a story. I'm not saying this is something for someone to believe and take literally, etc. What I'm saying is,
what good is it?
Paradox that is solvable, and because the purpose of the book is to actually expose talking snakes who think that they can speak for God and tell people what to do.
So you've got an interpretation of the Bible that has some kind of a meaning for you, and you think that that's the correct reading, or what?
No, what I'm saying is it is a test that is designed to take people who are proud and won't check the facts.
How do you know this? How do you know this? Because what you're doing is exactly what Johnny mentioned here. Johnny said you have your own understanding that you think is correct.
Okay.
And your understanding is that that Genesis is a test designed to metaphorically expose talking snakes. How do you know that that's the correct understanding of Genesis?
Yeah.
Okay. Let me step back a second, because I don't care to convince anyone who doesn't want to see what's in here, right?
Hang on. Joe, hold on. Joe, shut up and listen. I asked you how you know that your understanding of Genesis is correct. And your response was to say, you're not interested in discussing it with somebody who doesn't want to know. Do you think that we don't want to know? Why would we ask you the question if we don't want to know?
Yeah, I want to know. Why? How did you come to this conclusion that this is the correct reading?
Okay, that's a question I think is a good place to start.
I asked it 2 minutes ago before you went off on a fucking diversion.
Joe, just answer the question. Forget about all that. Let's focus here.
Okay, there are words in chapter 2, 4 through 7 that describe a period of time where in the story something is happening. And what it describes is that there is land and that there are no plants. And when I read that, I said, well, that can't be right, because that puts you on day 3, and it shows that a man is being made. Now, the classical understanding of the story was that man is not made until day 6. So that that seemed to be a dilemma, a paradox that I looked to resolve. And as a point of resolution, I found that I had put together a single account that was the solution to a puzzle.
But the question is, Joe, the question is, how does anyone know that your solution is right or that there even is a puzzle? You think you've solved a mystery without demonstrating that there's a mystery and without demonstrating that your solution is correct. Don't tell us more about how you're reading through it and try to reconcile this. Tell us how we can know you are correct.
Okay, if you go to the last book of the Bible, which was written about 1,000 years later at least, let's say, maybe we can't agree on that, or I don't know, but that's what I've read. It says that it's written 1,000 years later, 100 AD versus.
It doesn't make any fucking difference when it was written. I don't care if it was written Thursday.
Okay, well, they refer to a book that no one was worthy to open, including all of the apostles, all those people that had written the scriptures, and one that was writing the last book. He refers to a book that no one was worthy to open that had 7 seals. From then on, you have a puzzle that has to be solved. I'm only hoping to start the conversation today, not convince you, because I think there's way.
Okay, I'm hoping to end a conversation because we keep asking how we can know that your understanding is correct, and you're giving us nothing. But I found something else in the Bible. How do we know that your understanding is correct?
There's a man on day 3 in my solution to the puzzle. That man on day 3 would be a type or an earliest prophecy of the Messiah who rose on day 3. That would be important in the history of Christianity. That's what first took note to myself, and I looked to prove myself wrong for the next 3 days and beyond that. And what I found was that not only had no one presented this as important before, no pastors, no teachers, no PhDs wanted to even acknowledge that it was important.
Yes. And so in the entire history of humanity, you have discovered something that nobody else, including all the people who share your beliefs and the reverence for that book, have not discovered. And I'm still asking you, how do we know if it's right?
No, hold on.
No, fucking hold on. I'm tired of asking the same question over and over and getting nothing from you. How do we know that you're right?
Sure, you're going to know it's right, but what I want...
Then I'm not interested in having a discussion, because there are thousands of batshit crazy conspiracy theories and people finding hidden secret messages in their holy books. It happens with the Bible. It happens with the Quran. It happens with the Torah, the Talmud, everything. People do this all the time. If you don't have a mechanism to show that your understanding is correct, you are engaged in something that is a monumental waste of fucking time. When you get a mechanism to show that you are likely to be correct, call us back. Until then, you're just another person with that's just your opinion, bro.
Mm-hmm. Expose the talking snakes.
Yes, the fact that you think talking snakes means people who are lying about God is neat. Congratulations on a different view. However, you can't prove that you're right, so I don't care.
It's wonderful that that's the message of the book.
It's not the fucking... You think it's the message of the book.
Joe,
you can't prove that it's the message of the book.
Joe, this is like literary interpretation. You know, like Silas Marner, the golden hair of the child symbolizes the wealth that Silas Marner wasted. You know, that's nice that you found a symbol that means something to you, right? You know, I watch movies and I read books and I find that there's symbolism that relates back in some way to things that I've experienced in my life, and art is self-referential. I mean, how is it, even if that was the interpretation you're supposed to take away from those parts of the Bible, is it true, or is it just a feature of the story, of the fiction?
I think you should assume it's fiction.
I don't assume it's fiction. What I want to get to, Joe, what I want to know is, why should I care about this one? Now, I've done this before, but there are older books than the Bible. All right? Like the Rig Veda, for example. Why wouldn't I pore over the Rig Veda? Why wouldn't I parse out each word with a fine-tooth comb and spend the rest of the short life available to me reading that before I get to doing that with the Bible? Why should I even open the book to begin with, to take a page out of Eric Murphy's playbook? Why would I do that? Tell me why I should do that. Rather than this story is interesting, it's internally consistent, and when Picard and Q are having a debate at the All Good Things in the last episode of Star Trek: The Next Generation, that it relates back to that first test in Encounter at Farpoint, and therefore it's internally consistent. Why should I care? Can you tell me why I should care?
If the maker of the book had a plan to destroy those who would eventually develop into Christianity and try to run the world, control women's bodies because they're proud men that don't check the facts, and if that's the message from the beginning, and you can take the foundation of their book and their claims of authority all come from the Bible, and you can say you missed the point of the Bible right in the beginning. You didn't even see that there was a man on day 3.
Joe, you don't need to use the Bible to disprove the Bible. Okay, you can, sure, but you don't need to look at itself to find that it's a defunct book that's morally bankrupt. You can just have a sliver of compassion for the women and the non-Christians in the world that get the short end of the stick according to the book that's there. Why bother using itself? I remember years ago having friends that were saying, well, the Bible isn't actually against homosexuality. If you look at this word in this part of the Bible, it actually says man who isn't manly. And that means it's mostly a person who doesn't take on the responsibilities of manhood. It doesn't actually mean a homosexual person. Sure. If you want to do that, fine. Define that it's reprehensible. But why bother? I don't.
The first 2 pages, if written as a puzzle, are designed to destroy all the assumptions that happen afterward.
It's a big if, Joe.
It's
a big if.
Puzzle, they are written to destroy the claims that come afterward.
It's a big if, Joe. I mean, I know that people like to believe that they found secret knowledge. That's appealing. It's also, I tend to go down rabbit holes myself, really big into the sovereign citizens. I love learning more about it. They think that they've discovered this secret cabal that runs everything, and that there are secret laws. And if you interpret the words of this statute and this constitutional provision, this secret amendment, that you can reinterpret all the laws to mean you don't have to pay taxes, you don't have to have a driver's license, you don't have to pay your child support, and you don't have to appear before a court and get yourself put in jail. But just because it could be internally consistent in some bizarro world version doesn't mean that it actually is what it claims to be. I just think you're spinning your wheels on this when you sound like a smart guy who likes to dig into things. And why don't you just focus on something else? Why is this the hill you're gonna die on?
You say why, but that will get into experiences that have lasted my whole life long.
All right.
Well, call somebody who cares, because I don't.
I don't feel the need for you to listen or anyone to care. I don't feel that.
Why did you call in? Then why did you call in?
Congratulations. I'm going to do something I wouldn't normally do after I told Johnny he could
Thank you, Matt.
hang up on whoever you want. I'm fucking hanging up on you because you're wasted enough of our time.